So, one of the questions that I received this week is how aging impacts muscle building and strategies to help combat it. This is a great question. I feel like a lot of people deal with this, and particularly in women, this usually comes up around menopause age. And we do see a big impact on muscle building. We all want to stay strong and capable throughout our lives, but it's just a fact that our bodies do start to change over time. One of these noticeable shifts is how easily we can build and maintain our muscle mass. So this natural process, the medical term for it is sarcopenia, and that is the gradual loss of muscle mass, strength, and function. It can begin as early as your 30s and usually accelerate significantly after 60. So this is going to be very case by case dependent. Everyone's going to be different. Your genetics will play a big role, but so will your activity levels. You might start to notice that everyday tasks are feeling a little bit harder, or perhaps that it takes longer to recover from physical activity. And this is a sign kind of that this process is starting. So what's the science behind the decline? What exactly is happening inside of our bodies? There are a few key factors at play here, and one is our muscle protein synthesis. That's the process where our bodies build new muscle mass. This pathway becomes less efficient as we get older. So imagine that your muscles are constantly repairing and rebuilding, and when we're young, this process is like a well-oiled machine. As we age, it slows down, and that means that we don't build muscle as quickly and as easily from the proteins that we consume. The other thing that happens is our bodies become less sensitive to anabolic signals. There are these internal cues like amino acids from protein and a stimulus from resistance exercise that tell our muscles that they should be growing. And it essentially takes a stronger push to get our muscles to respond to grow as we age. The third thing that happens is hormonal changes. There are increases in inflammation and even subtle changes in nerve function, and these all can contribute to this overall decline in muscle mass and muscle strength. So let's kind of talk about what we can do about it and how nutrition can play a role. So the good news is while we can't stop aging, we can significantly combat sarcopenia, and nutrition has a huge role in this. The thing that is most important, as I'm sure most of you have guessed by now, is protein. Protein is going to help with building more muscle. And like I mentioned, we just need a little bit stronger of a push. So if we can really focus on protein intake, that can help with giving your body the push that it's looking for. So protein, like I've mentioned before, is that essential building block for muscle, and we need the amino acids that come from that protein. For older individuals, the recommendations are a little different than what you might typically hear. We need more protein than the younger counterparts to stimulate that protein muscle synthesis and counteract the less efficient process that we just discussed. A good general guideline is to aim for 1 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, or even higher, especially if you're very active. So if you look at like a governmental recommendation for protein, usually it's 0.8 grams per kilogram. Especially as we age, we need more than that. So the recommendation is going to increase to 1 to 1.2. But then if we're even more active and we're actively breaking down muscle mass, we want to work harder to build that back up. So that recommendation could be even higher. We could be talking 1.4, 1.6, or even 2 grams per kilogram. So this will also be very individualized based on your age and your activity level. But the story doesn't end here. It's not just the total amount of protein that you consume. It's also about how you spread it out throughout your day that really matters. Distributing your protein intake throughout the day consistently. So for example, having like 25 to 30 grams at breakfast, another 25 to 30 at lunch, and 25 to 30 at dinner, as opposed to only having 90 grams of protein at dinner, is going to make a significant difference. If you can distribute your protein intake throughout the day, that is going to be more effective than either front loading or back loading and having it all at dinner. So this is going to ensure that you have that consistent supply of amino acids going into your bloodstream and getting to those muscles to help with that repair and growth process that we're looking to achieve. So I also want you to think beyond just like chicken breast, eggs, Greek yogurt, fish. We can get protein through beans, lentils, whey protein powder. So especially if we're trying to really boost our protein intake, like absolutely have eggs at breakfast, chicken at lunch, fish at dinner. But in those in between times, maybe we have, some beans or lentils or some hummus. Maybe we have a smoothie that has whey protein added. So it's really important that those snacks aren't just like chips and salsa, and that we have some actual protein in those snacks to help with supporting those goals. Other nutrients that come into play here would be vitamin D. So, vitamin D is really important for both muscle function and bone health. And a lot of older adults tend to be deficient. So, first and foremost, getting tested for vitamin D to find out what your levels are is really important. But also consider some fortified foods. So, there are a lot of foods out there that have vitamin D added, like vitamin D milk. You can also pay attention to your sun exposure. So obviously we still want to be cautious of wearing sunscreen, avoiding sunburns, and reducing our risk for cancer. But we do get vitamin D from sunlight. So if we are having sun exposure in a smart way, that can really help with increasing your vitamin D stores. And then if you do get your vitamin D tested and it shows that it is low, this is where it would be appropriate to have a vitamin D supplement on board as well. Another nutrient that can play a role is omega-3 fatty acids. So these are typically found in fatty fish like salmon and mackerel. They can help with reducing inflammation, which can also hinder muscle growth. So if we are constantly in a state of inflammation, that is going to impact our body's ability to grow and build muscle. So the more we can manage that and minimize it, the better it will be for promoting muscle growth. So let's not forget about the power of fruits or vegetables either. These are also packed with antioxidants that can also do similar things in terms of inflammation. So those antioxidants can help with protecting our cells, specifically muscle cells, and they can reduce the damage and inflammation that occurs on the cellular level. Finally, don't underestimate hydration. Water is going to be very essential for all of our bodily functions, including muscle contractions and nutrient transport. So if we are really trying to build and maintain muscle, we need to not forget about the basics like water. Just of note, so nutrition plays a big role in this, but nutrition is not the only thing that's going to impact it. It's really important that we pair nutrition with activity. Nutrition and activity are a very powerful duo. So you can eat all the protein in the world, but if you don't have the muscle stimulus of, say, resistance training, your muscles won't have a strong reason to grow. So we want to make sure that we are pairing all of our protein and taking care of our nutrition with that physical activity to help with promoting this desire for your body to grow stronger. Resistance exercises specifically create the signal that your muscles need to adapt and grow. And then nutrition is going to provide the fuel and building blocks for that process to continue happening. So if you can combine your improved nutrition habits with regular resistance training, that can really help with preventing muscle loss, especially as you age. So like I mentioned at the beginning, aging is just always going to be an inevitable part of life, but losing muscle strength does not have to be. If you can prioritize sufficient protein intake and incorporate other vital nutrients like omega-3s, antioxidants, and hydration, and pair all of that with regular resistance exercise, you can significantly impact your body's ability to build and maintain muscle well into your golden years. So empower yourself with this knowledge and start making these simple and powerful changes. If you have any further questions about this, feel free to reach out to one of the dietitians here at eNRG Performance, and we would be happy to talk to you about maybe you're interested in blood testing and want to get those vitamin D levels tested. We can help you out with that. If you are curious about how much protein you need and if you're meeting those recommendations, go ahead and schedule a consult and we can also discuss that. Or if you just have more general questions, feel free to throw it in the channel and maybe we'll answer it in our next Q&A video session. I hope you all have a good day.